This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, build your online presence with Squarespace. Hey everyone, I'm Ace of Clay and welcome to another sculpting video. If you're new here, I'm a sculptor and every week I make a new sculpture. Today we're continuing spooky season sculptures with what I'd like to call a pumpkin creeper. Get it? It's kind of like a play on pumpkin reaper, pumpkin creeper. It's pretty much this tree-like creature with a pumpkin on its head. I was kind of inspired by that 12-foot tall flaming pumpkin guy from Home Depot, and this is kind of like my little spin on that concept. So I really hope you like it. And before we get started, my original character Winston is a plush, and he is available right now at aceofclay.com. I'm signing these if you would like, and he's available right now. He has all of his little details. He's got real buttons, really soft plush hair. Everything has been beautifully embroidered and he's really cool. And he comes with a hang tag with his entire backstory on it. So that's a nice touch, I thought. So if you want one, head on over to aceofclay.com and get him before he's gone. And now without further ado, let's sculpt the pumpkin creeper. Alright, let's get started. I've got my wooden plaque here with my holes, and then I got my aluminum wire, and I'm shaping out one side and then mirroring it on the other. Then I'm going to add a third piece of wire for the neck and attach that with some more wire. This armature formation allows me to give my character a very skinny waist if I want. After kind of finagling it into the pose that I want, I'm going to start brushing it with Bacon Bond and bulking out the torso with some Super Sculpey Ultralight. This step can also be done with aluminum foil, but I like the control I get from the Ultralight. And once my torso is roughed out, it's time to bake. And once it's baked and completely cooled down, it's time to cover that ultralight in clay. I'm using Super Sculpey Original for this project, and we're just going to get that torso completely covered so we can start working on the details. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, I want the body of this creature to be eerie and tree-like, almost as if a tree has grown into a skeletal body. So we're going to start by carving out the ribs, and then we're going to go in with many different tools to create all the nooks and crannies in the bark or the wood. But before I add all those little details, I want to just rough out the basic look of a skeletal rib cage. Now I'm going to go in with a bunch of tiny snakes of clay to create these little veiny vines all over the place. And to integrate them with the surface of the body, I'm going to use a little ball stylus and some other tools to blend them in. Now let's cover this thing in texture. After texturing the torso pretty well, it's time to pop on his neck and texture that too. Using some tiny ball styluses now, I'm going to create the look of rotting wood or wood that has been, taken over by ants, that kind of thing. Lots of fun doing this part, and using the different sized ball styluses really sell it. I also want to create some different textures here and there, like these little bumps. And a couple more snakes of clay on the neck, and I think I'll be happy. Now moving down to the legs, I want these to kind of look like tree stumps, so I want them to be thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top thigh area. I just want to pinch my larger snakes of clay around that wire. If you're ever having trouble with your clay sticking to your armature wire, you can always brush on some Bacon Bond. In my opinion, this works just as well as wire wrapping. And now it's time to make that thick noodle leg look like a tree, so we're going to add on some more snakes of clay. I must have said snakes of clay like 50 times in this video already. Sorry about that. And once I start blending, we're really getting some tree vibes now. Now using my Explorer tool, I'm going to create some vertical lines all over the leg to create the look of bark. This is going to be awesome to dry brush later on. We're really going to catch all these details on the surface. Alright, now I'm kind of bored of doing the body, so we're just going to jump into the head really quick. I covered a ball of aluminum foil in some Super Sculpey Living Doll, and now I'm carving out his mouth. Living Doll is my favorite clay to use for sculpting faces because I think it's the best polymer clay on the market today. It blends beautifully, it's super strong once baked, and it's just a pleasure to work with. I'd almost go as far as to say your piece will sculpt itself when you use this stuff. Not really though. Now for his face and his head, I want the top half to be a pumpkin and the bottom half to be the same tree texture as the rest of his body. So kind of like he's wearing a jack-o'-lantern on his head. I also want to give the pumpkin a unique shape to give him a little something different. So right now, as you can see, we are in the ugly stages of his head when I just want to throw everything out and start over. But once I pinch those eyes like that and give him this like little creepy vibe, I start to like it. So we're just carving out those facial features and going from there. Now using this wedge rubber shaper, I'm going to create the ribs in the pumpkin. That's what the lines in pumpkins are called, ribs. After creating the ribs with my wedge shaper and Explorer tool, I'm going in with my spoon tool to round everything out really nice. This technique can also be used on cute pumpkins. Alright, we're going to take a quick break from our video to talk about our sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you're a big business, a small business, a freelance designer, or sculptor like me, Squarespace has everything you need to showcase your brand, sell your products, and more. I've been using Squarespace for over 4 years now, even before they started sponsoring me, and I could not be happier with my experience. Their products are so streamlined and so easy to use that managing my website, aceofclay.com, is truly a breeze. Some of my favorite features include the portfolios and galleries. In my line of work, I have to show my art to the world, and Squarespace's beautiful portfolios allow me to do just that. I opened my online store where I sell stickers, posters, plushes, and more, and Squarespace makes everything so easy. I can track my inventory, print shipping labels, I get notifications when something sells, and everything I need is right there in the platform. You can even sell digital downloads. They really have everything you need to start selling online. And at this day and age, if you're an online business, you've got to have a social media presence, and Squarespace allows you to integrate all of your social media platforms into any page of your website. So if everything I said sounds good, head on over to squarespace.com, start a free trial, and when you're ready to go live, go to squarespace.com/aceofclay to save 10% on your purchase of a website or domain using my code aceofclay. Thanks again, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Now back to our sculpture. Now that the pumpkin portion on his head is pretty much done, we're going to go in and really refine the mouth. He's got an open mouth, as you can see, and I'm just hollowing it out a little bit more and popping in his gums because he's going to have teeth, of course. Human teeth. Once the gums are in, I'm going in with a small ball stylus to create an indent for each of the teeth that I will be adding. And then I'm going to put this little piece back there first before I add the teeth. It looks like a tongue, but I'm actually going to texture this to look like pumpkin guts. I thought that was fitting. And now it's time to add the teeth after I'm done texturing. So just using this Excel blade, I'm tapping them into a little bit of Bacon Bond that I added to each of the holes for the teeth. And once the teeth are at a good spot, it's time to go back up and refine things further. Now I'm going to use the same technique that I used on the body to texture the lower half of his face. And of course, we can't forget the stem. And just like that, the head is done. Now let's finish the body. I added clay for the other leg off camera, and now I'm finishing the foot on the one leg by making it look like tree roots. Now let's get that other leg completely textured, and then we can pre-bake this thing after we pop on his head. But before I bake him, I'm going to add some extra details with this 26 gauge floral wire and my other aluminum wire to create vines coming off of him all over the place. This adds a really nice touch, and the wire takes paint beautifully. You just might have to seal it, but I'm getting ahead of myself now. Let's add those vines. Using different gauges of wire for this really sell the natural look and make it look less uniform. Now I'm going to wrap up some little springy things and poke those in too. Once I'm happy with where this guy's at, it's time to bake him. And once he's baked, it's time to work on his arms. And because he's baked, you can see I can work on the arms and not smash anything that I've already completed. For the arms, I'm using Cos clay so that I can pose them, because Cos clay stays flexible after it's baked. I want the arms and hands to look like long, skinny, creepy branches. To create the hands, I'm just adding the main part of the hand and then wrapping some tapered Cos clay around a piece of wire, and then I'm poking the fingers in individually and then blending them in at their bases. I want the other arm that I haven't started to look like he's like reaching to grab you, but right now it just looks like he's waving high. Like someone waved to someone behind him and he didn't realize that they weren't waving at him. That's what I'm getting from that right now. Alright, all the fingers are on and everything's looking good. It's time to start texturing. Let's speed that up because you've seen it 1,000 times already in this video. After finishing the other arm and hand off camera, you can see now it looks like he's gonna grab you. Let's just texture that and add some more wire vines. And it's time for his final bake. Once he's baked and completely cooled down, he's looking pretty good. We had no baking casualties, and we can start painting. For this project, the majority of the paints that I'm using are Army Painter War Paints. Just mixing up a extremely dark brown that's almost black, and we're going to paint the entire body like this. I also washed the dark brown onto the pumpkin so that it will create some nice dark undertones for the orange I will be adding on top later. And now it's time to make that pumpkin really look like a pumpkin. By using a smaller paintbrush, I'm going to paint in between each of the ribs. And I want some of that dark brown texture and brush strokes to show through the orange, so I'm not going in super heavy with it. Now let's paint up those pumpkin guts in his mouth with some nice warm orange and yellow. Now for his teeth. Now for my favorite part, to heighten all the details on his body, I'm going to dry brush on some lighter brown that's really going to highlight things and make those details pop. I also dry brush on a little bit of purple and green here and there. And for some extra detail, I'm going to super glue some of these little miniature details onto his body and paint them with some watered down black. After popping on the last bits and painting them, I'm gonna paint the base off camera and you can say it with me. And he's done! My little pumpkin creeper dude is complete. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think he's cool. I just think of like some new things to say in this outro, but like honestly, he's a cool little sculpture. I'm glad that I made the arms out of cosplay and the fingers, they're semi-posable now, and like the little added miniature details. I think he's a nice, unique spin on like a pumpkin monster creature, and I can see him, you know, chasing me through the woods. So again, let me know what you think of him in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Threads at Ace of Clay, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.